met with different media members in advance of this year's tournament. It's a natural question to ask, and happy to answer it. The simple answer is that there's not any new news, and as you know, the basketball committees have been talking about whether or not it makes sense to expand the championships for over a year. They're continuing to discuss, analyze, and consider whether or not that would be a recommendation that would go forward. There's nothing that's imminent. We're not expecting any development there, likely before the end of this year's championships. But we are, I would say the committees are giving it more consideration than any time in my 10 plus years at the NCAA. As you both know, it's come up from time to time out of different coaching groups and the like, but this one's a little different because of the transformation committee and some conferences that put this proposal forward for all NCAA championships and basketball in particular. So we've been, pretty far along in the analysis of it, and have kind of narrowed the scope of consideration. But at the end of the day, there's no decision that's been made. There's no intended outcome here either. One of the potential outcomes certainly is still no expansion at all. And if there were to be a recommendation to expand, it would likely be very modest in nature.
Then I need you to be honest on this one, right? When you are evaluating whether or not to expand, how much does Jeff Goodman being firmly against it come into that consideration?
It's huge. It's huge.
Thanks.
We'll make sure that every committee member knows exactly where Jeff stands on the issue.
In all seriousness, though, you see the Field of 68 logo we got right here. If it does end up expanding, what sizes are you guys evaluating? Are we looking at 96? Are we looking at 72? Like what are the numbers that we're kind of
Rob wants to know what we need to grab now on Twitter, which handles we need to grab immediately.
Fair enough. How do you protect your IP, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's been reported because our president Charlie Bacon has actually said this publicly. It would be in the range of 72 to 76, an additional 4 or 8 teams, if at all. Again, with one potential outcome being no expansion at all. I do think it's pretty safe to say, Rob, that the 96 consideration, that started this way back over a year ago, and actually was a topic back when the latest CBS TNT deal was done, the first one in 2010, it is definitely not on the table. One of the things that's come out of all this analysis is that you would really have to change the whole calendar to accommodate that, either moving the Final Four dates back or starting the conference tournaments earlier, both of which are very challenging, if not impossible to do contractually, for the conferences or for the NCAA. So no consideration of anything more modest than that 72 to 76 is on the table at all right now.
So when you say that it's difficult to expand the calendar, I'm assuming that you heard Mark Pope say he wants to go to a 40-game schedule. I'm assuming that means it's probably unlikely.
Well, no, I guess I should clarify. I mean, it's changing the calendar in order to accommodate a much larger NCAA tournament. You'd need more dates in order to be able to do that. In expanding the regular season, I know Mark, spoke about 40. There's been some discussion, I think, around more modest expansion potentially of the regular season by adding an additional game or two. That wouldn't, require, well, the 40 would certainly require a change in when we start the season, right? I don't think anyone would say that we could get 40 games into a 22-week schedule right now. If it were only additional game or two, maybe you could accommodate that within the 22-week regular season schedule. But my point was more about the back end and how we would need to alter the back end of the calendar in order to accommodate a much larger NCAA tournament, which again is not on the table at all right now.
Because the CBS is not moving the Masters, more or less.
Yes.
I wish they would, because